So we got a pretty big patch for this game, Monster Energy Supercross 25 today. I did a video quite a while ago when Milestone gave us a final field track, Salt Lake City, Denver, I believe Pittsburgh. When they did the final changes to those three tracks, I felt like that might be the final patch we get, the final meaningful patch we get, but I was very wrong. Today, Milestone just released a major update to the game. It was animations, revamped, improved animations, rider model changes, and pretty major physics changes to the game. Now, before we get into it, you can see it here, but before we get into it, I kind of want to mention, and I know I have, but I believe this is probably the most post-launch support Milestone has probably ever done for any of their games. Any MXGP Supercross game, I played them all. I don't remember any time where Milestone would have given us this much post-launch support, free updates, changes to the game. And, the game came out April 10, I believe. And we're in July 1. And we got some serious physics changes. So, starting with the first thing, animations. The animations, I believe they said, have been revamped. They talked about the new physics system, and they smoothed out a bunch of the animations and made them better. So the animations, yes, I believe you can see it. Now, it's really weird because the animations are a visual thing, but for me, when I was playing it, you could almost feel them because the animations just were different, were improved, whatever it was exactly. Almost they sometimes feel more exaggerated, but that was probably the most minor change they did. Then we move on to the rider model. That would be the second big one, and they slimmed down the rider model. That was a big criticism from the community, that the rider model was too big. And they specifically said they made the jersey have more of a fitted feeling. I believe they said t-shirt, but it had more of a fitted t-shirt feeling, and it definitely does. Now, I'm going to make a comparison. Some people might not agree, or it might annoy you, because Supercross 3 by many people, or a lot of people, think Supercross 3 was the best Supercross game Milestone has ever done. I basically agree. The rider model from the back on the bike, just sitting or riding in a straight line, reminds me a little bit more of Supercross 3 now. It just does. I haven't played that game. I haven't watched that game in quite a while, but it reminds me of that. So the rider model was definitely a good change. Very noticeable when you're playing the game. When I first loaded in and was at the main menu, I didn't really notice it with the rider, where you have your options to go to race, workshop, customization. Where the rider's just standing there next to the bike. I didn't really notice it that much, but on the track, I notice it more. So, in my opinion, that was a good change. That was probably the second biggest change they did in this patch, but moving on to the final one, the third one. Well, it wasn't the final one, but the final major one. They've done some physics changes already, and even if they were minor, they had a decent impact on the game. This was a bit different. This was a big change, and it had a big impact on the way the game plays. So, you probably have seen it throughout the video so far, but they did a big change to the whips and the scrubs and just the general movement of the bike and rider in the air. So I've been wanting them to speed up the whips and scrubs for basically since the beginning of the game, and they finally did. They said minor. They said they did a minor increase in speed, I believe. Well, hold on. They said they did... Okay, this is word for word quote. They said increased midair movement speed. We slightly increase the speed at which you can perform mid-air whips, scrubs, generic movements, keeping it compatible with our physics system. That's what they said. So they said they did a slight change, and I would disagree. I would say this is more of a medium one. Now, yes, the physics are still... The system is the same, but it feels quite a bit different in the air. So you can whip the bike, scrub the bike off of smaller jumps. You don't have to just do it on, the Supercross triples or big jumps. So that was a good change. I think When I first played it, I don't know if I enjoyed it, and I'm a little bit indifferent right now, but I guess if I had to say, I lean more towards I like the way the whips feel, as far as being able to flick the bike. It feels more flickable, more light and maneuverable in the air, which is good in my opinion. But it also takes, there are some growing pains with how to refamiliarize yourself with the physics if you've been playing the game, or if you got comfortable with the way it was before. Now, one thing they didn't mention, but it definitely is different. The ground physics have also had a minor change to them. Now, the system is the same: push the sticks together, pull them apart to turn tighter, but there's like a point when you're doing it where the bike will turn really, really sharp for no reason. So you go into a corner, you push the sticks together, pull them apart, the bike starts to turn, and then right before you exit the corner, the bike, at least for me, was kind of like, it had at the last second, it would turn a little bit more than it should. Now, I know Milestone didn't say they did any changes to that in the patch notes, but maybe because of the changes to the whips and stuff, it affected the ground physics, but the ground physics feel quite a bit different to me, and I don't know, because they didn't completely overhaul the system. I don't know if I like the way the ground physics feel now, with the way the turning is kind of weird. I'd be really curious to see how you guys feel. Also, another complaint, and an even bigger one, we know we got the change where you can turn the dynamic camera, turn it off, where the camera would kind of rotate around you in a weird way. Well, I have it off, and if you throw a big enough of a whip, that dynamic camera will start to rotate still. So turning it off kind of feels like it's a fake off, right? It still rotates if you do a huge whip, and I don't know if it's a bug or what, but I hope they can adjust that a little bit, because if you throw a whip to where your back end is out, over halfway, the camera can rotate. You probably have seen it throughout the video already. It happened to me a few times trying to get gameplay, but I would say that's my number one complaint with it. The second complaint would be that the ground physics feel different without there being any mention of any specific change to it. So a majority of the patch, those were the three big changes to it, and yeah, I would say this is a major patch. And what I'm really curious to see, and what I kind of want to bring up here at the very end before we close out the video, how do you feel about it? What I'm most curious about is two things. If you've been playing the game, you did enjoy the game, how do you feel about this patch? Do you like it? Did it ruin it for you? Are you indifferent? If you enjoyed the game, I'm really curious to see what you think about this patch. Now, on the other side of it, if you haven't played the game, if you still have it installed, or if you feel like this is enough for you to reinstall it and try it, I would be really curious, with an honest opinion, how you feel about the game with these physics changes. Did it make the game more fun, more enjoyable, or did it make it worse? Do you dislike the game even more? Or do you feel the same? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Did the patch not make it better, and you still feel like you don't like Supercross 25? Because honestly, this game is very split. It's probably 60-40. 60% of people don't like the game. 40% do, or maybe it was 40% don't, and 60% do. I don't remember, but it's pretty split. So I would be really curious to see how both sides of the game feel about this patch, because it's the biggest physics change I've probably ever seen Milestone do in the history of Milestone making, motocross, supercross games. This is probably the biggest physics change after release that I've ever seen Milestone do, and I applaud them for their continued effort and support of this game, and trying to improve it, and trying to make it better, and trying to keep the players they have happy, but make the game more fun and enjoyable for the players that they may have lost, that people just don't want to play it anymore. So you got to give them some credit for the effort that they've been doing. And overall, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I'm a little bit indifferent. I like some of the stuff and some of the changes they've done, but also some of the stuff like the ground physics in the camera, not the biggest fan of, but really curious to see how you guys feel. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support in the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.